Thank you, choir. And John, thank you. Nice job today. Our music director is away today, so. Yeah, a lovely job with those vocalists as well. And a balm in Gilead. Boy, we need a balm in Gilead today, don't we? Just these are stressful times. These are very anxious days in which we live. I remember receiving a postcard a number of years ago when I lived in West Nashville. I was pastoring a little Disciples of Christ church while I was working on doctoral studies at Vanderbilt. And there was a church not too far from our church. We were actually called Bellevue Christian Church, Disciples of Christ. They were called Bellevue Community Church. And we were the little struggling church, and they were the big happening church. And the church of what's happening now. And there was a little bit of envy, of course, in me because I was hoping and praying that our church might have the same kind of success in ministering to people that they were having. But it wasn't to be. But every 6 or 8 weeks, this big church, Bellevue Community Church, would send out these beautiful, high-gloss postcards advertising upcoming events or upcoming preaching sermon series. And I remember one particular day getting this postcard in the mail advertising an upcoming event, or an upcoming sermon series on stress. And well, right away I was a little jealous because it was a great ad, but I had to keep in mind they had a $100,000 advertising budget every year. We didn't have a $100,000 congregational budget, so, but keep it in perspective. But this was a great ad. On the front of the postcard, there was a man in a business suit, his tie loosened, his hair a little frazzled, and he's sitting up in a casket. And in one hand, he's got a cell phone pressed to his ear. In his other hand, he's working a laptop that's sitting on top of the casket. And underneath it says, "Are you stressed for success?" I thought to myself, boy, that is really great. They have really struck a chord. Because when you think about it, we all experience stress, don't we? Sometimes we bring it on ourselves. We're trying to get ahead. We're trying to succeed. We're working extra hours, trying to create success for our life. But in the end, we often work ourselves into an early grave. We're stressed for success. Sometimes we experience just stress from things that are happening to us outside of our own lives. We worry about our finances. We worry about credit card debt, mortgage debt. We worry about that economy that seems to have more ups and downs and loops and turns than the big roller coaster out at Cedar Point. We worry about job security and job losses and how long the unemployment insurance is going to last. We worry about our family pressures, our family responsibilities. We worry about our volunteer responsibilities in the church. Sometimes it feels like that proverbial balloon, which is our life, keeps getting inflated and inflated and inflated with more and more until we feel like we're beyond capacity and we're about to pop. We're about to snap. We all know stress. Now, sometimes stress isn't a bad thing. Some people like to be busy. I'm one of those people who I like to work hard. I like to be busy, and somehow those challenges and being busy sort of energizes me. But sometimes I take on too much, just like everyone else. Sometimes I forget to take care of self, and you get a little worn down. I think we all can experience that ever-expanding balloon, and we feel like we're just about to explode. Well, you have to admit, one of the most stressful occasions in our lives is a wedding. Now, I know weddings are joyful times. They're wonderful times. They're amazing times. Family, friends, they all gather together. A young love comes together to join in a covenant of love between them and God. This God who's planted like a seed in their hearts, planted this seed of love, and we're ready to celebrate its new beginning. but those who've participated in weddings. Whether you've been the couple who are standing at the front, stressed by the expectations of the day, stressed by the financial pressures of paying for a wedding, or whether you've been the aunts and the uncles, the grandmas and the grandpas, or the friends and the relatives who want to be there, but they're stressed about trying to find time off to make it to the wedding. Can we afford to be away from work this particular time? Even the pastor gets a little stressed at wedding times. You know, the pastor who has to wear two hats, play double duty. On the one hand, the pastor has to be that family diplomat who's trying to keep peace between families in this day and age of blended families where people don't always get along so well, especially in a day and age where the stress, a time in life when the stress is building. And then that other hat of high holy man who's got to come and somehow make that covenant of marriage real. We all experience stress around wedding times. Oh, it's good, but it's also a stressful time. You know, I was thinking, I don't think I ever saw my parents even come close to divorce, except on the day of my brother's wedding. The one day I remember seeing that look of divorce, you know, sort of in their faces as a real possibility. Now, some of you know my father was a senior pastor in a very large suburban church not too far from here in Windsor, Ontario. And there was a lot of expectations on him. There were a lot of expectations on my mother in that day and age as the pastor's wife, you know, who had to dress a certain way, speak a certain way, lead the right Bible study in the living room in our house and just be the proper pastor's wife. There was also a lot of eyes focused on the pastor's family, how they behaved, particularly at the time of a wedding. The first Giulianoat boys getting married. And how will the pastor's family carry this off? Well, there was a lot of stress mounting. Stress, the normal stress of weddings, you know, the preparations, the booking of the hall, and all those sorts of things. But the day of the wedding, I recall being in the driveway with my brothers and my father, and we were washing the cars, getting them ready for the wedding. I don't know if they do this anymore, but in the old days, we'd wash the cars, get them all cleaned and polished, and then we'd stick those little flowers that we made out of Kleenex and toilet tissue to the front of your car. So when you drove around town honking your horns, everyone knew it was a wedding. Everyone would join in and honk with you. So we're in the driveway washing the cars. My mother gets dropped off at the end of the driveway by a friend. She's just coming home from getting her hair done, her makeup done for this big wedding. I mean, the wedding's going to take place in just a few hours. And as she starts walking up the driveway, it's one of those moments where everything kind of kicked into slow motion, and you wish you could have stopped Dad from doing what Dad did. Now, I know my dad, he's a romantic, and he's trying to be playful, and he knows the stress and the tension of the day, and he's trying to ease that stress, and he's trying to ease that tension for the woman he loves and adores, my mother. My brothers and I saw Dad rinsing the car with the hose. You've had those moments, you know. You want to stop him. You go into slow motion, it's no. But it's too late. In one quick flick of the wrist, Dad has playfully sprayed Mom. See, the women in the room, they know what's going through my mother's mind at this point. My mother never said a word. She was a very she is a dignified person. But she did stop, and she just turned and looked at my father with her teeth clenched. And if looks could kill. And I swear I saw steam coming off her head as she marched into the house. Indeed, weddings are a stressful time. And after performing weddings for the last 20 or so years, if we had time, I'd be glad to share some stories with you. They're lots of fun after the fact. In the moment, they're stressful. So you can imagine the stress in Cana the day the wine ran out at that wedding.